And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, yeah.
Good afternoon, all. You're watching and listening to a live edition of the Sal Greco Show, and I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thanks for tuning in. So just to give you a brief synopsis on myself here, this isn't like the other shows. It might be a little different because I talk about politics, I talk about policing, I talk about pop culture, i.e. wrestling, things like that, and of course, food. So, you know, if there are any crazy comments or whatever, and I do address some of the comments because I like some of the people in there, I like what you say, to the good people and the ones that hate me also. But we have breaking news here because I was going to do a whole show predominantly, and I'll get to it later on, about what happened on Capitol Hill yesterday with the illustrious mayor of New York City. But there's breaking news in the New York City Police Department, and it involves this female. I believe her name is Officer Machado, or Detective Machado. And here's a shot of her 50A right here. So here's someone that made Special Victim Squad. So just to get into this unit, I want you to understand it's like an exclusive thing. You probably have to know people or maybe step on other people to get into this unit, okay? And her Instagram, if you see, she had an Instagram, was apparently she took it down. But what broke this morning, which is, I don't know what to say about this. It's more of the same stuff coming from the NYPD. Here's a picture of it right there. So apparently she's in this music video that, I don't know how she got it, but I'm going to tell you what I posted about in a little bit of this article. So on my X, I posted, how low can NYPD's finest go under NYPD Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch and her forced in the public planted puff pieces in the Daily Mail and New York Post. Here is the shameful reality of what is going on in the NYPD as crime still soars to record levels. And what I'm referring to is Jessica Tisch has been getting puff pieces from the New York Post and the Daily Mail about crime being at a record low, even though we have Sam Antar, who is proving that crime is anything but down. But that is the perception management of the NYPD, as you know, as me, John Macari, Eric Dim, Marlon Bethel always point out to you. So this article here is in the Daily Mail, and it said, Machado under fire after appearing as a stripper in raunchy hip-hop music video. Nighthawk, I see that comment. That video was crazy. I'm very sad for her. I agree. So it starts off, I'm just going to give you a couple of paragraphs here. An NYPD detective assigned to the Special Victims Unit is seen crawling around on a strip club dance floor, flaunting her voluptuous body while being showered with dollar bills in a new viral hip-hop video, DailyMail.com can reveal. Melissa Machado, a detective in the Bronx responsible for investigating sexual violence, appears in nothing but a skimpy bra and G-string, sexting it up with hip-hop artist Esquire in a music video for his song Doing That. I don't know if this man has a record. I'd hate to say this and bring this up. You can't associate with people that are reasonably believed to have engaged in or likely to have engaged in criminal activity. So I'm already hearing reports of the people involved in the video have records. So you should be hit with criminal association, right? Isn't that the Sal Greco charge? So this article will continue. Esquire spits out X-rated lyrics about Machado, 28, performing sex acts. She gives him a personal lap dance, then ends up in the apartment, sprawled out on a bed. Do you remember there was an officer that did a lap dance at a Christmas party, I believe in a 4-4, and she was demonized as every name in a book? And if you're going to go after her for stuff like that and a lieutenant because he was the recipient of that lap dance, how do you turn a blind eye to this kind of stuff? I mean, really. Machado did not respond to Daily Mail's request for comment, but seconds after the message was left on her phone, her social media pages were taken down, like I stated to you guys. The NYPD did not respond to repeated requests for comments. You could see these pictures. There's the video. I can't play it for copyright reasons, but you could see the video for yourself. This is, I can't believe. Look, he described her. So there's someone here, Fabian Winfield, who's an artist from Hempstead, Long Island, which is Esquire. He's talking about the cop. He described her as a friend and said he only knew her by her nickname Honeybee, which is also Machado's handle on social media. That doesn't sound good. So that's someone that quite possibly doesn't know she's a police officer. I didn't know what she did for a living, he told dailymail.com, laughing. She doesn't seem like a detective. When you think of detectives, you think of Special Victims Unit on the TV. She is Special Victims. I mean, wow. And there's, right on the screen here is a video of the officer that was like almost drummed out of police department for performing a lap dance at a Christmas party. So if we're going to demonize her and this lieutenant, how do you not demonize this? This has got 1 million something views. I mean, this guy's making money on this, or as they like to say in his business, mad money on this. The detective, the mom of a young boy, took down an Instagram page earlier this week as a steamy performance went viral. The NYPD has yet to of course, they're not going to comment on this. They don't know how to. This is the best part because this is the officers so they're questioning other officers about this. This is people in the NYPD. Some officers speaking with DailyMail.com describe Machado's actions as an embarrassment to the department. I really don't know. I don't understand why this woman would do something that dumb. One detective told DailyMail.com, we're supposed to be held to a higher standard as role models. I completely agree. And this one is coming from, actually, he's also my attorney. That's Eric Sanders. It says, lawyer Eric Sanders, a retired NYPD officer who represents many cops, said Machado's actions are inconsistent with the values and professional standards the public expects from law enforcement, especially those entrusted with investigating sensitive cases involving special victims. The department must conduct a thorough review of this detective's conduct, caseload, and overall fitness for duty to ensure accountability and maintain public confidence in its officers, Sanders said. And Esquire said he described her as a friend and associate, saying he met her through the video's producer, Picture Perfect. And it mentions a gentleman's club. I mean, look, this almost begins to sound like another thing we had going on, which was Consofrito and everything that went on over there. I mean, look, I don't know what it is. A lot of these, I'm going to say this, okay? And I'm sure there's cops in the comments and stuff. You know, if you're self-impressed, because there's a lot of that going on in the NYPD, when you're self-impressed and you put pictures and videos of yourself and you're associating with people and in places you shouldn't be, I could go back 20 years ago, almost over 20 years ago, when I got on the job, I had veterans tell me, don't be the one. Don't be the one. You know why? They mean don't get caught in a club or pictured with the wrong person because they'll try to terminate you. I remember them telling me this. You know, years later, I didn't know they were going to try to say Roger Stone was the worst criminal in the world and that this guy is the equal of a Jimmy Rodriguez of Consofrito and Jimmy's Cafe. But this is what they were trying to say. You need to stay away from seedy places and shady people. And I think this is something that many on this job, whether they're young or old, and there's a picture of the illustrious Jimmy Rodriguez and the Cuban crime family. This is how you get in trouble, and this would ultimately lead to discipline and embarrassment on the job and ultimately termination. Now, I don't know what Jessica Tisch is going to do with this, but I did find something out this morning also, and I would like to show you this. There's a memo in regards to retirees. So there's something that Tisch is doing, and I posted this myself, and I put the NYPD Police Commissioner, Jessica Tisch, is making life very hard for any member of service thinking about or putting in for retirement in the NYPD via this memo. And we'll put this memo on the screen, and I'm going to read the whole thing too. I think any right now current member of service or anyone thinking about retiring should know what's in this memo right here. As discussed during the team's meeting chaired by Chief Hernandez on Thursday, February 27th, below bullets are the minimum to be immediately implemented upon finest message and or other means, i.e. prior knowledge of notification of a member's pending retirement. So if you're retiring and you have to let them know you're retired, because that's how it works, especially for tier 2, you have to let them know you're putting in your papers or you're just retiring on the spot, wherever it is in regards to retirement. That's what this is focused on. Commanding officer, executive officer to have in-person meeting with retiring MOS and her immediate supervisor regarding overtime reporting guidelines to include vacation work request. If assigned to permanent command, no overtime to be incurred. If assigned to outside command, make notification to outside command to request equalization be utilized and avoid using retiring MOS for overtime. No details except voluntary transit details. Only allow the voluntary signups coinciding with their city time position role. I mean, look, I remember a lot of guys that were retiring that did overtime and like it was perfectly fine. I mean, they earned this right to leave trying to like make a couple extra hours or finish their allotted. You're allowed to make what, like 120, 130 hours in a quarter. Of course, we've come to learn that under Jeffrey Madry, that was and Chief Shell and Kaz Dordry and Eric Adams' whole gang of goons, they didn't have a number. Some people did and some other people didn't. So continuing, commanding officer, executive officer designate an overtime supervisor in charge of monitoring the daily assignments towards any overtime incurred daily. Supervisor in charge will frequently, within each week, evaluate the chaos scans and activity log entries to ensure they coincide with what the retiring MOS is reporting to them daily. So now they're trying to check on what was going on prior, where people were signing in and out from their home, from a different district, taking cars from Staten Island, and then showing up to work, all this stuff. That one bullet point seems to be focused on that part. Supervisor in charge will inspect and sign MOS activity log at a minimum of once per set of tours, which I thought that everybody did that. That was still a rule when I was on the job. Retiring MOS will submit each overtime slip daily as performed to the supervisor in charge, who will have them signed by the commanding officer, executive officer, subsequently delivered for prompt entry by the timekeeper. That was always the rule until Jeffrey Madry was in charge and Eric Adams came into power. Supervisor in charge will have a conferral with the retiring MOS's timekeeper to ensure only slips delivered by him, her, and signed by the commanding officer, executive officer, or designee are prioritized for timely entry and will confirm via city time once per set of tours. If no city time access, utilize the ICO principal or other means necessary. Supervisor in charge must report to the commanding officer, executive officer, if unable to fulfill any daily, weekly duties, i.e. AVP, so that assignment can be fulfilled by another supervisor. So this is the latest memo by the police commissioner, and I actually try to get an executive perspective here. So I'm looking for Ron Layson chimed in because I sent this to Ron. So Ron had said, and Ron, by the way, has a show here at 17:05 Eastern every Wednesday. Executive perspective with Lukash. Sorry if I messed up his name. And they have executive perspective. He had the show on yesterday, but he chimed in on this very matter, and he says OT was being shoved down everyone's throat last year. People couldn't get a day off. That's a different issue, and also an additional reason for people leaving. OT is now going to be scrutinized. The problem is people not submitting the slips in a timely manner, then putting in their papers for retirement, dropping all the slips as they walk out the door. The memo is flawed in that most guys don't submit for retirement and then work much longer after it comes down on the finest message. I actually do agree with Mr. Layson. He's correct on that, in that was going on much of the time with certain people, but not all of them. And a lot of this, remember, goes back to the Jeffrey Madry, overtime scandal that is still being investigated, by the way. It's still ongoing. And, and again, here's Patrick Donahue, great comment. The micromanaging by Team Tish is a knee-jerk reaction to the OT giveaway by the Dream Team. He hit the nail on the head. Do you see what I'm saying? Patrick Donahue, who knows the system very well, is explaining to you what that memo really is. And I've seen Tish getting like puff piece after puff piece in the Daily Mail and the New York Post. And I don't understand why People are jumping all over her like she's the next coming of the mayor. She's the greatest candidate to be mayor. She'll never be the mayor. And you're going to see why. This is exactly why. The micromanaging and the abuse and the way that they're flipping this whole thing around and punishing people now. Like, you don't punish the people that are workers. Why don't you hold these other people accountable? So she had suspended Magic, but he walked away clean. She didn't suspend anyone. Like, where are you seeing suspensions and modifications of the chiefs, all the executives in charge of all of this stuff? We don't see anything. To this day, that some of them are still there. And there's also the musical chairs of transferring one guy from group 1 who goes to Staten Island and then ends up back now in group 25. What was that all about? I mean, listen, rearranging the furniture isn't going to work. I don't buy it. Many, many people also in New York City and the NYPD don't buy it either. So this is to be continued. I'm sure there's going to be more because I'm sure they're going to get upset that we just unveiled the memo that was supposed to be kept in-house. So now you're seeing the micromanaging and what's going on. So now I'm going to actually hit the points and the videos I want to show you in regards to this Capitol Hill hearing they had about sanctuary cities and the mayors that were there, obviously. So you had Mayor Johnston from Denver, Mayor Johnson from Chicago, Mayor Wu of Boston, and of course, the illustrious mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, the now blue MAGA mayor of New York. And I'm going to go over this one by one because there's a couple of segments here where it was actually Democrats that were trying to hold Eric Adams accountable because the Republicans, who I thought would jump all over him. I mean, he mentioned how New York City spent $6.9 billion in this migrant crisis that he helped string along. Nobody was even close to that number. But I saw the Republicans continuously try to beat on. I'm not giving them any leeway and saying, oh, they don't deserve it. But they kept beating on Mayor Wu, Mayor Johnson, and Mayor Johnston, and they left Eric Adams out of it until Anna Paulina came up. So I want to put up the first video on the screen. This is, I believe, Representative Garcia. I think he's from California, and he was the former mayor of in Long Beach, California, which is a disaster. I'm not going to lie. It's a disaster what he did there. But again, just because you don't like a politician or you don't like the person doesn't mean they're not spitting or spewing out facts. And he's about to hit some facts here. So let's play this and let me show you what I'm talking about.
Your residents. Now, the Trump administration has threatened to prosecute some of the mayors on the panel today and force them to comply with his extremist agenda. But however, Mayor Adams, you are in a different position. You, of course, are already facing serious criminal charges. And Mayor Adams, I assume that you are not going to commit perjury today. And I do believe, though, that you have an enormous amount of issues facing you ahead of you. And it means that your criminal charges are absolutely relevant to us today. Bribery, wire fraud, willfully and knowingly conspiring to commit offenses against the United States. Mayor Adams, you, of course, deny these corruption charges against you. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, Congressman.
Thank you. Now, I understand that you are proven innocent unless you are guilty, but you also have, sir, a trust problem. 4 of your deputy mayors have resigned. Now, this is serious, and Republican prosecutors agree that the evidence against you is ironclad, yet Trump's DOJ moved to drop these charges. Now, I just want to be and show this. I want to be just really clear and show this here. Now, look at how the Trump-appointed acting U.S. attorney who is prosecuting you described it. Because the law does not support a dismissal, and because I am confident that Adams committed the crimes with which he is charged, I cannot agree to seek a dismissal. Now, this is a conservative Republican who resigned when Donald Trump pressured her to drop the charges. And we know that the Trump administration demanded that the charges be dropped. And this is key. They will be able to refile them against you, Mr. Mayor, at any time. I think, personally, that's why you sat next to the architect of family separation on Fox and Friends. Now, Tom Homan sat next to you and said the following, and I quote, "Getting on Rikers Island is step one. We're working on some other things that we don't really want to talk about on open air because the city council will be putting roadblocks up on us. The mayor and me have a commitment to several other things. Now, this was you, of course, and Mr. Homan, the architect of family separation. This is also incredibly concerning, Mr. Mayor. You sat next to him, you smiled, you badmouthed your own city council. Now, Mr. Mayor, we have a right to know if the Trump administration has actually coerced you into agreeing to anything. And Mayor Adams, I also want to be very clear. Are you selling out New Yorkers to save yourself from prosecution?
There's no deal, no quid pro quo, and I did nothing wrong. And anything dealing with this case at a deference to Judge Ho, who's now addressing it, I'm going to refer to his actions.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it appears, to me at least, that you are selling New Yorkers out. It appears that you are working with Tom Homan, who is clearly focused on family separation and deportations and harming New Yorkers and others across the country. Now, every other mayor on this panel is pursuing legal and effective policies that benefit our residents and their communities. Their policies actually uphold public safety. Now, I personally agree with the majority of New Yorkers and think, Mr. Mayor, that you should resign. You should do the right thing. You should step down and resign today. And with that, I yield back.
Would my friend yield? Would my friend yield?
I yield.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I want to be really clear. Were you pressured in exchange for the dropping and dismissal of criminal charges in your indictment to cooperate with the Trump administration on all fronts with respect to immigration? Did any such conversation take place?
I think I was extremely clear.
I cannot hear you, sir.
I think I was extremely clear. No quid pro quo, no agreement. I did nothing wrong but serve the people of New York City.
That's unbelievable. That's just part one of things I just want to point out. I saw Patrick Donahue mention a comment there. It says Adams' answers yesterday on Capitol Hill were a set of carefully crafted answers, deniability by his attorneys, and the new DOJ. He should have been cited and held in contempt. Pat, once again, you're on the money today, boy. He's right, and I'm going to show you why. Because we're going to keep going. Because the next one I believe is Representative Suhas, another guy's from Virginia. Look, I don't agree with this guy politically either. Just like I don't agree politically with Garcia. But again, he's bringing up facts right here, and the answers are ridiculous. Just so you understand, I've been in front of Congress, okay? I'm in front of these committees. The answers are simple. Yes, no, plead the fifth. If there's any legal issue, which you have a lawyer, which you did, you answer, I plead the fifth. Or my attorney has told me, I am to plead the fifth, something like that. It's yes, no, plead the fifth. Anything else can be held, you can be held in contempt of court or contempt of Congress, which I highly doubt any of this is going to go on because this was a charade yesterday. So let me just put up this video. This is Representative Suhas, who from Virginia, who was asking Eric Adams some other questions, and you could watch him squirm yet again.
Mayor Adams, I think everyone's a little bit concerned about the timeline of events that has led to your case being dropped. And so, Mayor Adams, did you meet with Tom Homan on December 12th of last year?
Oh, yes, I did.
Did President Trump say publicly that he considered pardoning you 4 days after that meeting? Yes or no?
I don't recall what the president said in regards to that meeting.
Well, he did. In January, did you meet with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
In this meeting, did you talk about immigration enforcement with the president?
Talk about immigration in general.
What was that? What did you talk about when it comes to immigration?
Just how important it is to secure the border, and they were able to do so. We saw a 90% decrease, and I see that on my streets every day.
Did you talk about your pending case with the DOJ?
No, I did not.
So the case did not come out. Have you ever talked about your case with the DOJ with the president?
No more than what you heard him on the trail say that he thought it was important.
I haven't heard much. Tell me, have you ever talked about the president and talked about your case in the DOJ with the president?
Yeah, as I indicated previously, I'm going to say it again. This case is in front of Judge Ho, and out of deference to him.
Have you ever talked about your case with anyone in the Trump administration?
I'm going to say this again. This case is in front of Judge Ho, and out of deference to Judge Ho, he is going to determine the outcome of this case.
That's not answering the question. I'm going to ask you one more time. Have you ever talked about this case with anyone in the Trump administration?
This case is from Judge Ho, and out of deference to Judge Ho is going to decide the outcome of.
So you see what's going on there, and I like the comments here. Here's Marlon Bethel. He's not doing much swaggering in front of Congress. I love the comment. You guys are on the money here. Here's Hunter. I can see Adams losing his bid at a second term. The DOJ will drop a new charge against him. I can see that too, but I'm going to actually explain this to you. His answer, what he's saying, it's in front of Judge Ho. Did you discuss this case with anyone in the Trump administration? That's not a legal question, by the way. It's not something that's attorney-client privilege. You can answer this question. Yes, no, or I plead the fifth. Okay? Just so you understand, Congress is probably the worst place for anyone to be up there answering questions for. They have all kinds of subpoena power. And in my case, okay, I just want to give you a reference point. When I was in front of this January 6th committee, they actually had in front of them my testimony and my department trial. That whole issue was in front of them. And they would go back and say, well, you answered this question here. So why can't you answer this now? Or why can't you said this here? And so just so you understand, it doesn't matter what your legal case is. You have to answer those questions in front of Congress. They probably have the biggest subpoena power out of anyone, even the FBI, the DOJ. They have the right to get anything and use congressional power to get it or hold you in contempt of Congress. As you saw, Steve Bannon, who is guilty of many things, was found guilty of contempt of Congress for not testifying and thinking he could just blow off a subpoena. You cannot. So just to give you a reference of what was going on there, because you can say what I'm saying. Yes, no, or plead the fifth. But the way he's answering, you're very close to being held. You can be charged with contempt of Congress, just so you understand. And, of course, we all know someone who was hit with lying to Congress. Two people that come to mind right away and were charged and found guilty again, it was a witch hunt, but it was Pete Rose and Roger Stone. Just so you know, check those two names out and what happened in those contempt of Congress charges. So now I'm going to go to the next video. And this is Republican representative of Florida in my state, Anna Paulina Luna, who is, she was talking to Mayor Johnson, and she makes this entire long statement. And we're going to talk about this because I don't know what she's talking about or how this would at least go along with what they're doing here. So let's play this video and I'll discuss this after.
But you all speak about a broken immigration system, and yet here you guys are aiding and abetting in that entire process. I want to be very clear about something. Open border policies, which is something that you guys are talking about, hurts people on both sides, meaning the people that are coming here illegally and then American citizens as well. I do not think you guys are bad people, but I think that you are ideologically misled, which is why, unfortunately, based on your responses, I'm all going to be criminally referring you to the Department of Justice for investigation. And as soon as I leave here, these will be going over to Pam Bondi. I'm not doing that in an effort to bully you guys, but I do believe that your policies are hurting the American people, and you can make that known with the evidence that you can present to the Department of Justice. But if you guys continue doing what you're doing, you're not going to help anyone. You're going to hurt more people, and that's exactly why I'm tired of it. The American people are tired of it. And Chairman, I yield my time.
Would you yield your last minute?
Yes, sir.
But Mayor Adams, you were one of the first mayors in what the media refers to as a blue city, typically, that came out and raised concerns about the influx of illegals pouring into the city of New York. Could you answer the question, what that did to New York City from a budgetary standpoint? Let's not even talk about crime or anything. Let's just talk about from a budgetary, the burden on the citizens of New York City.
As I indicated, Mr. Chairman, we spent $6.9 billion, and the long-term impact of that is extremely significant. After COVID, we had a large number of children who was chronically absent. We could have taken 200 million of that and dealt with that. We have a real mental health crisis in our city. We could have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on that. And so the long-term impact of spending $6.9 $6.9 billion is going to have serious ramification on the future of New York City. So it's more than just what happened last year or this year. It is what is going to impact us long term.
So I don't know if anyone saw what happened there. So Anna Paulina Luna is giving 3 criminal referrals. There's 4 mayors. So apparently the 6.9 billion that New York City has wasted, which is everyone else combined, is dwarfs them, okay? All the other cities, okay? Apparently Eric Adams is immune to anything. He's got more stroke than the president, Congress. He can't be prosecuted for anything, okay? Because apparently he's going to miss this. So that's number one. You saw 3 referrals in her hand when it should be 4. Secondarily, if you are going to now criminally refer him to the DOJ, you just dismissed the case that was a lot more serious. The fact that he was bribing people, threatening people, there's foreign money involved, foreign nations. Basically, we don't know if this guy is a foreign asset or a government asset. All we know is that he's untouchable, and he's sitting there. He doesn't have his swagger. He's not calling anyone his Negroes like he did a couple of days prior. So this guy, I just don't get it. And Republicans are not holding his feet to the fire, even though his money, the money being spent in New York City, we're not even going to say that. I just saw today, there's another migrant shelter that was just put up in the Bronx. So for anyone that says this deal that Trump or his DOJ made, I mean, Eric Adams is playing chess and Trump's playing checkers. That's playing right now, to be honest. The Trump administration, the biggest black eye on it right now is this Eric Adams and how they're holding this. And again, I'm going to point to Emil Bove, the acting deputy attorney general. Now he can't be because Todd Blanche was put in yesterday. He passed the approval with the Senate. He was confirmed. And Boris Epstein, who put Todd Blanche and Emil Bove on Trump's original legal defense, which he lost all his cases because of these clowns. I mean, they had no defense. And the guy that partially won, but they got rid of, was Joe Tacopino, who just got someone acquitted in California in a liberal district. That was ASAP Rocky for a huge charge that faced 25 years. But Boris Epstein, we bow to you. You must be the greatest. Maybe we should call you president. Who knows? But so this whole thing that you're seeing made no sense. So you don't refer him, or you are referring him, but yet you dismiss the case. So you could already see this is a made-for-TV drama, because you don't see much happening here or anything that's going to happen other than some people were grandstanding, other people were asking questions and making about themselves. Will we see anything come out of this? I highly doubt it. But we weren't done yet, because the star of the show and the one that made the most sense is unbelievably AOC, who we believe is not that bright, but yet she brought up really good points. So she had 2 sets of interactions with Eric Adams. So let me play the first one for you, and then there'll be another one after that.
Mayor Adams, on January 31st of 2025, your attorneys met with federal prosecutors regarding the charges of bribery, campaign finance fraud, and conspiracy against you. Were you aware of this meeting prior to its occurrence?
Congresswoman,
Microphone, please.
I'm sorry. As I stated to your colleagues, and I'm going to continue to state because we're asking the same question over and over again.
This isn't a question.
This case is in front of Judge Ho, and out of deference to
I
our
understand,
criminal justice
Mayor Adams.
process, I'm going to
Mayor Adams,
defer this
as your
to the
counsel,
court.
I'm sure will inform you. The only permissible way to refuse to answer a question during a congressional proceeding such as this is by pleading the Fifth Amendment. Deference to the judge is not a permissible excuse for not answering questions during a congressional hearing. Is it your intention to plead the Fifth today?
Councilwoman, you said the only way that you can't answer a question is to plead the Fifth. I am answering your question. I'm answering your question directly. That
You are not, Mayor Adams.
okay? I believe I am.
I will ask it again. Were
He's
you
right.
aware of the meeting between your attorneys and federal prosecutors on January 31st? Answering this question is a yes or a no.
And I'm going to answer it again. Out of deference to Judge Ho, with this case in
That is
front
not an
of,
answer, Mayor Adams.
he is going to deal with the outcome of the case.
Mayor Adams, is it your intention to not comply with these questions?
As I stated, I'm answering your questions, and what you're doing, let's be clear on.
Listen, so that was the first interaction, okay? No matter what you think of this woman, and trust me, I'm no fan of hers, and I think that she's way out there policy-wise. She is factually correct. You cannot answer the question with what he's saying in deference, or you can't say that. Yes, no, I plead the fifth. Again, I keep reiterating this because there could be a criminal referral for Eric Adams and contempt of Congress. His counsel did not tell him that. You know how I know? I had counsel. I had to do this. They did not tell you to answer it. You could say yes, and then you could add on to it. Or no, I can't. But if you're saying you're answering it, you answer it and just give them details of whatever they're asking. And no, she's not answering she's not asking a question about attorney-client privilege questions. So that's another thing that I saw someone come up with. I mean, you're listening to a guy that's been through this with Congress. And I watched another friend of mine go through this actually twice. And by the way, even if it's voluntarily, which is what you'll hear in the next segment, even if it is voluntarily, you still need to answer it, because it was Roger Stone who walked into Congress voluntarily and then was charged with lying to Congress. So anyone who thinks you're just going easy because it's Eric, no, it has to be done a certain way. There are no exceptions. Doesn't matter who you are. You could be King Tut for all that matters. You have to answer the question. So now I like Hunter. Eric Adams was an NYPD captain. He passed the exam, ? Who knows? Because I heard he did a lot of things as a sergeant on a sergeant's exam, and how he shamed a female for taking a test or something. So we're going way back. But there's one final segment. I'm going to play this now. This is AOC getting her 5 minutes on Eric Adams, and you can watch this interaction.
Mayor Adams, are you aware that the former acting U.S. Attorney Danielle Sassoon was present at the January 31st meeting between your lawyers and federal prosecutors?
As I stated, and you, Congresswoman, you appear to want to ask the question over and over again, and so I could only give you the appropriate question over and over again. That this
okay, I understand, Mayor Adams. You're not answering this question because you believe you will incriminate yourself.
To the movement.
I understand, Mr. Chairman. I would like to submit to the congressional record Danielle Sassoon's resignation letter from the U.S. Attorney.
Without objection to order.
Thank you so much. In her letter, the former acting U.S. Attorney, a registered Republican, a former clerk for Antonin Scalia, was appointed by President Trump to serve as acting U.S. Attorney, was present at the January 31st meeting between Mayor Adams' attorneys and federal prosecutors. After that meeting with attorneys, the acting U.S. Attorney resigned rather than dismiss the charges against Mayor Adams. In her letter, which I have just submitted to the congressional record, Ms. Sassoon stated that during that January 31st meeting, Mayor Adams's attorneys, quote, repeatedly urged what amounted to a quid pro quo, describing it as a, quote, improper offer of immigration enforcement assistance in exchange for a dismissal of his case, end quote. The acting U.S. Attorney has submitted a former acting U.S. Attorney has submitted a letter. And Mayor Adams, do you know how many federal prosecutors total resigned rather than file the motion to drop the charges?
It was reported that 7.
7, correct. Mr. Chair, I would like to submit another letter from Hagan Scotton, his resignation letter.
Without objection to order.
Mr. Scotton was an assistant U.S. attorney who also attended the January 31st meeting between your attorneys and federal prosecutors. He also resigned rather than drop the charges. In his resignation letter, he stated, and I quote, "Our laws and traditions do not allow using the prosecutorial power to influence other citizens, much less elected officials. 7 federal prosecutors, the acting U.S. attorney, the assistant U.S. attorney, all gave up their entire careers, Republicans included, then drop these charges because of what they saw transpire in that January 31st meeting. This is important not just for the city of New York, but for the people of the United States of America. Because what is being alleged is genuinely not just about what may or may not have occurred from the mayor's office and with the mayor, but what is happening at the Department of Justice. And that's what I want everyone to understand. These are not Democratic U.S. attorneys. These are Republican U.S. attorneys that have trained under Republican-appointed Supreme Court justices who have stated that there is and suggested as well, that the prosecutorial power at the Department of Justice may be influencing what is occurring. And instead of carrying that out and carrying out the erosion at the Department of Justice, they would have preferred to give up their entire career. 7 lifelong public servants involved in law enforcement, mind you. And to that, when it comes to the fact that this may or may not have anything to do with this hearing, respectfully, Mr. Chairman, this is about specifically immigration enforcement in terms of that. And this right here is the 4-alarm fire that everyone must be paying attention to. Because if it's not just in the mayor's office of New York City, what other city, what other individual, what other municipality leader can be next? For a party that talks about states' rights and municipal rights, we must defend, yes, the rule of law, including in the Department of Justice. And with that, I yield back.
So you heard a lot there. And again, I don't personally agree with her politics. She said, BXNY5244 says she grew up in Yorktown. She's not AOC from the block. Definitely not. I also want to point out she is the congresswoman representing the district where Consafrito was open and operated illegally for many years. But she was not one to have been known to frequent that place. So, but she is factually correct in what she stated. She also brought up the point of what the acting U.S. Attorney U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of New York stated. Also, the attorney that resigned that had this case. And but she did forget one thing. They keep trying. I saw Republicans trying to spin this. One of them, right after her, said something about, well, Eric, there's only one mayor up here that spoke out against the previous administration, and they went after him with fury. It's well documented that it was Trump's Justice Department in 2017 that started the investigation. So that went through many heads of the Southern District of New York, all the way to who you have now. Well, I don't know who they have now, because now it's they got rid of this attorney. I don't know who's acting right now as the Southern District of New York head, but it's been passed down numerous times. So no, there was no political persecution. That is a hook line designed to drag in low information people to try to feel bad for someone who has now a 20% approval rating in New York City. I don't know where Trump's getting his information. Personally, I keep reiterating Boris Epstein, and there's something to do with real estate and all that behind this. But AOC was correct. But again, this hearing yesterday is a made-for-TV drama. Ratings try to bolster themselves. You're not going to see anything come out of it. There won't be any criminal indictments, even though there's plenty to go from with different individuals there. Nothing's going to come out of it other than it's a big waste of time and a big waste of money. Here's the reality of immigration, and this is illegal immigration. You don't have enough immigration judges. We don't have, and it's on the screen. 20% in New York City voters approve of Mayor Eric Adams. 20%, okay? There's not enough immigration judges in this country. That is what's backlogging all the hearings, asylum seeking hearing, all this stuff. You don't have enough judges, and we don't have enough immigration officials, meaning ICE agents, federal agents, all this stuff. You need billions of dollars. This would probably bankrupt the country. So Trump actually does have this program where you buy this gold card. So you buy $5 million into the country to get your citizenship, and you bring businesses and you employ people. Then they have a chance to become citizens. It's actually a good idea. But the actual fact is you cannot have enough. You don't have enough immigration judges to hear of all these hearings coming up and all these illegals that are in the country. You also don't have they actually, like, the conservative point, which is something I stand for, is sovereignty, meaning the cities, municipalities, and states are all separate from the government, meaning they all have their own state constitutions and they have their local laws and procedures. The reason being in New York City why you see this problem is in the 70s, there was a law enacted that the local agencies cannot operate like ICE agents, or the police department cannot operate as their ICE agents. Okay, so the police department is a law that states that you cannot cooperate with ICE. I believe this was even reinforced in 2014 under Mayor Bill de Blasio. So this whole quid pro quo thing, which would be ridiculous because the mayor cannot aid President Trump in deporting people, because he cannot tell the police department to do something that would cost you your job, because this is what's going to happen. And I'll give you one example, and I see there's cops here in the chat room or retired cops. Suppose there's a fleeing felon that pointing a gun at someone trying to rob them. He now turns around and he's putting his gun back in his waist. You shoot him in the back. Now, federally, you're fine. But guess what? You broke NYPD rules and you broke local law procedures. So as you won't be charged in a federal court, but you can be charged in a local court. And you're probably going to be charged in the NYPD disciplinary trial where you lose everything. So there are laws for a reason. So no NYPD officer, if they're smart, will try to cooperate with ICE, because there'll be people snitching you out. There might be video of this, and they will come after you. Because again, like I started the show with, all the veterans on the job just tell me one thing: don't be that guy or don't be that girl, because they will make an example out of you, because it's a big hot topic, political issues. ICE can go wherever they want. Nobody's stopping them. But each jurisdictions have the right, whether you like it or not, to cooperate with you. I would like them to cooperate with them, but guess what? You have 45 or so nut jobs in city council that put this law in, that if you want that change, vote them out. That's what's democratic about this country. Not try to use a mayor to be a puppet and his indictment against them. So again, this is a big black eye on the Trump administration. I would just steer clear of this guy, because he's done. He's toast. 20% approval rating. They actually wrote an article that said he was number 2 in the polls. That's because Cuomo's at 60-something% in the primary, and he's about 40 points below, or some crazy number. So he's the best of the rest. Kind of like when Trump was running in the Republican primary, DeSantis is number 2. He's polling 35 points below him. That's not a big, that's not nothing to, sing home about, or, sing about, at least in my opinion. So the next thing I wanted to show you guys was this whole incident, because now you saw how this man was acting in Congress. And I see a lot of people talking about the swag and all that garbage, right? So he was in front of some low information people. And then there's this word of how he's calling people Negroes, right? And then he doubles down just a few days later in front of reporters. So let me show you the first video, and then the second video of this, which is unbelievable that he would do it. But this is who he is.
You made a comment last week that got a lot of criticism about Negroes asking you to step down. May God forgive them. I wanted to know why you felt you had to make that comment publicly and not speak to those Black leaders in private about your feelings towards what they have been saying about you.
Well, those Negroes knew they were wrong. Who are we kidding? And why are we trying to classify the term Negro as being a derogatory term? You got the Negro Improvement League organization. You got the United Negro College Fund. You have the National Council of Negro Women. That's not a derogatory term. I say to myself sometimes, Negro, you dropped the.
After the first video, I don't know if you have the first video when he called everybody stupid in front of his people there at Gracie Mansion, whoever he invited in. But you see what I'm talking about with this guy. He's calling people Negroes. He's talking down to you. And when he mentioned in the first video, well, you people stupid, you understand what he's trying to say. And this is why I keep saying he wants low information, because that might work with low information people. Hey, look, he's great. He's talking slang or whatever. But that's why you have a 20% approval rating. And that is offensive. I've spoken to many people, many African Americans, and they're also attorneys, they're cops, they have real jobs, they make a lot of money, and they don't even refer to themselves as that, nor do they say that amongst each other. Hey, here's King Cujo. It is derogatory. He's not using it in a positive way. Oh my God, what did I just hear? Question mark. Exactly. This is the mayor of New York City, and he's talking like that. We didn't hear that at Congress, right? So he thinks it's cool to run around and say these kind of things, and that people are going to say, wow, what a great mayor, what a great guy he is. I mean, I don't know where he gets his intelligence from, but clearly this guy is on the downswing. And at this point, it's March. You got to figure now you have 9 months left with this clown. And what things can he do to destroy the city or himself more than he did the day prior? That's basically what we're talking about here, because I don't know where this guy gets his intelligence from. But the final point I wanted to make on this episode here, and everybody, thanks for watching, and thanks for tuning in, and also for the comments, because I do look at them, and I will, when I am live, I'm going to be going to the audience. So if you can, please hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button, hit the notification button, because the more you do that, the more we could actually expand on the channel, on the Finest Unfiltered. And also I want to give my my heart and my soul, everything goes to Eric and his family. All my thoughts are in prayers are with him, and Derek, his son, as you know, he's been going through a lot, Eric, and that's why you haven't seen him on the show recently. So if everybody could keep Eric in your thoughts and your prayers, and if you haven't donated to his son's GoFundMe, which is trying to help him out, because listen, my father passed away from glioblastoma. That is a brain tumor. That is a cancer. It's a killer. It's brutal to watch, and I don't think any child should have to go through that, let alone Derek's 7-year-old son. So if you can, there it is. That's so far the total. And trust me, some people might say, "Oh, that's not a lot of money." You have no idea truly what this costs. Cancer takes millions of dollars to try to do it. That's why people that are well off, very wealthy, if they have cancer or whatever, that's why things happen. They can't afford it. So if whatever you guys can, please help out Eric and his family. And my thoughts and my prayers, my heart goes out to him. And anything that he needs, I'm here for you, Eric. So I just want to say that. But so the last thing I was going to touch up on is this article that was in the City. And nobody mentioned this, but it's very important because it has to do with his former aide, Timothy Pearson, okay? Here's a guy that's being sued for sexual harassment. Also said, where's my crumbs when it came to the migrant shelters, which nobody wanted to talk about at this hearing. If you want to talk about illegal immigration. So here's a whole article. I'm just going to read this off and maybe comment in between, because I find this outrageous that nobody wanted to touch up on this yesterday. So it says here, taxpayers on hook for $300K so far in Adams aide misconduct suits. Tim Pearson is getting his defense paid for by the city of New York as the mayor's insistence, even after an investigation found Pearson abused his authority. This is very important. This violates General Municipal Law 50K2, okay, because this doesn't fall under the scope of your activity as a member of the city or as a police officer. You cannot work for city government and sexually assault or sexually harass people on the job. That is actually a crime. Therefore, you can't be represented in civil suits. So I just wanted to reiterate that here. So taxpayers are now facing a bill topping $300K for private lawyers hired to handle 4 lawsuits accusing Tim Pearson, a former top aide to Mayor Eric Adams, of sexually harassing a female employee and then retaliating against other staff who complained about his behavior. The law firm hired by the city corporation council to handle these cases, now not only represents Pearson and other named defendants, but also potentially several top-level former or current employees who may be called as witnesses, including the mayor's former general counsels, Brendan McGuire and Lisa Zornberg. So you understand that now the former people that were his legal counsel can be called in these cases. It's getting worse by the second. As a result, the firm, Wilson Elser, has submitted invoices to the city law department seeking, oh, this is crazy. Seeking $336K for services rendered through last week. Of that, $86,000 has been paid, while the rest is under review, a spokesperson for the law department told the city. So this is just in 1 week. Remember, he's also fighting cases against people that were terminated for not going along with their mandate, yet they won the right to come back on the job. He's appealing that. Here's a 1 week to defend a guy of 4 sexual assault and harassment lawsuits. And the guy was talking about where his crumbs were with migrant shelter kickbacks. So remember that number. That's 1 week. Was it costing to fight terminated employees that were ordered to go back by the court? I wonder. The bills come as a result of what is reported to have been Adams' personal decision to have the city foot Pearson's legal bills in the 4 lawsuits, overruling the city's former corporation counsel who promptly resigned. Again, Eric Adams tells you he listens to the city council in one instance. In the other instance, he's telling them what to do. So here again, he's talking on both sides of his mouth. And this time he's telling corporation counsel, you better represent him in this instance. In the other instance, he says, I have to follow what they tell me. I don't know what's going on here. I think you could read between the line. That decision is coming under renewed scrutiny in light of a report from the Department of Investigation last week that found Pearson abused his authority and provided false statements to NYPD in connection with an altercation in which he assaulted 2 guards at a Midtown migrant shelter. City rules bar the city from representing or paying to represent city workers if the conduct they're accused of violates the rules and regulations all city workers must adhere to. That's General Municipal Law 50K2. That's what they're talking about, which I have stated long before anyone even wrote an article, and they denied me the letter that should have been written in regards to why they're defending them, which is your right as a taxpayer, actually. It can't just say attorney-client privilege. It has to be a reason why they're defending them. Pearson is a longtime close associate of Adams. The 2 served together in NYPD, and Adams appointed Pearson to a vaguely defined job as senior advisor, maneuvering to allow Pearson to simultaneously collect his police pension. Adams then put him in charge of a new unit monitoring the efficiency of millions of dollars in city contracts related to migrant shelters. Yeah, he did. Like I said, he said, where's my crumbs? That's in the actual lawsuit. On more than one occasion, Pearson showed up at shelters for inspections unannounced and got into confrontations with security guards, culminating in the October 2023 melee at the Manhattan shelter. He's also under scrutiny in federal corruption probe. In September, the FBI and DOI confiscated his phone, seized his documents in his home in a probe of procurement corruption after one of the 4 lawsuits alleged Pearson told colleagues he needed to get his crumbs while overseeing shelter contracts. That investigation continues apace, according to a source familiar with the matter. So that investigation is still ongoing. Okay, so that means even though Emo Bulb said you can't investigate Eric Adams anymore, and then he changed his mind a couple of days later under all that scrutiny, they're telling you right here, no, Pearson, this is still ongoing. Throughout all of this, Mayor Adams has consistently backed his longtime friend. Most recently this week, when a reporter asked about the DOI report, the mayor said his office was reviewing the report, then declared, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I know Tim to be an optimal professional, but the arrangement under which Wilson Elser was hired to represent current and former city employees in the Pearson-related suits has come under fire from critics who say it violates rules that determine which city employees are eligible for publicly funded lawyers when they're charged with wrongdoing. Council member Lincoln Ressler, Democrat from Brooklyn, also may or may not be a member of the Golden Girls. He definitely falls in line with that. Has repeatedly assailed the decision to have the city pay, arguing that paying for Pearson's lawyers in his sex harassment cases goes against the rule, barring the city from representing city workers if the conduct they're accused of violates the rules and regulations all city workers must adhere to. He's actually right. We all know that Tim Pearson received a taxpayer-funded attorney because of his close friendship with Eric Adams, Ressler told the city. The law department should revisit the decision immediately because Tim Pearson should never have received a taxpayer-funded attorney in the first place. He has egregiously violated city rules and conducted himself in indefensible ways. He deserves no taxpayer-funded representation. Former corporation counsel Sylvia Hins Radix stepped down in June after Adams overruled her. Ressler said he will question a successor, Muriel Good-Trufant, about Pierce's representation when she appears at a city council budget hearing next month. At least that part is right. So, once again, broken clock is correct twice a day. It's happened. It happened with AOC yesterday. Now it's happening with Lincoln Ressler. Maybe being on the Golden Girls is a good thing. Pearson is a defendant at the heart of 4 lawsuits, all of which allege that in his role as a powerful mayoral aide, he harassed NYPD Sergeant Roxanne Ludeman, an aide in the Municipal Services Assessment and an ad hoc agency Pearson ran that monitored city contracts for waste and fraud. Ludeman sued last March, followed by 3 NYPD cops who say they witnessed this alleged harassment, including a high-ranking chief. Their lawsuits corroborate Ludeman's allegations, but also claim the department retaliated against them after they complained to high-ranking officials in the mayor's office about Pearson's behavior. So you see this this agency, the NYPD, the administration, Eric Adams, they always retaliate against the whistleblower. You try to say something happened or went wrong, you present evidence, they come after you. It's over and over and over again. You see this behavior with this guy. He's operating like a thug. The defendants Wilson Elser represents include Pearson, 5 current or former top brass in NYPD, the City Economic Development Corporation, which employed Pearson, in the city of New York. This article goes on. I could keep reading it, but there's a lot here. But basically, in the final paragraph here, the city hired lawyers are not representing Pearson in that lawsuit. There's another lawsuit coming in regards to this, a shelter on Orchard Beach. So they're not going to represent him there. But look, this is a mess. And I want to say this. Why was there no questions about this? The city's representing all of Eric Adams' goons, and it's all illegal. There's numerous sexual assault cases, and nothing's happening. Nobody is saying anything about it. Nothing was said yesterday at that hearing. Of course, this ties back in, as you heard in this article alone, which is by Greg B. Smith, about where's my crumbs. I find this incomprehensible, and here let's 0-2-1-1-2, stating they have destroyed New York City. This is when politics goes wrong. He's right. And this is what we're trying to home in on. So I'm going to end it on that note. Okay. So everybody, listen, thanks for watching. Tune in. I'll try to do these live shows more often. I would definitely pay close attention to whatever Eric Adams is doing. There's a mayoral race. Say what you want about who's running for the mayoral race, but this kind of behavior, what we saw in the last week alone from Eric Adams, is disgusting and disgraceful, not only to New York City, but to the voters. I know low information voters love this, but there's a lot of people, predominantly the 20% of them approve of him. The people that don't approve of him, which is the overwhelming majority, will say, Eric Adams, you should have resigned. And as far as what's going on in the police department, it's disgusting that they're all micromanaging what we just said today, what we stated with that memo, and the fact that the breaking news of this Detective Machado, who's involved in a video associating with criminals and thinking that twerking and whatever she's doing there, that's a good look for someone who's in a police department. I don't know what to say with that. We'll make you, the audience, decide. BXNY 5244. Good job, Sal. Thank you. Listen, thanks everyone for watching. Once again, if you can, hit the like, share, subscribe button. All right, hit the notification button as well. And for everyone tomorrow, 8:05 live, Finest Unfiltered. We know we have the weekly roundtable, and I'm sure John is going to be raring to go, talking about this incident, because this is unbelievable. So until then, I bid adieu. Thank you for watching. Thanks for supporting me and supporting the Finest Unfiltered family, and I'll see you all in the next one.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.